Part 1. I always believed that Emma and I had no secrets between us. We'd been together for nearly 3 years, and for the past 14 months, we'd been living together in our little 2-bedroom apartment in the city. We shared a grocery list, a Netflix password, and 1,000 tiny rituals that made up our life together. Lazy Sunday mornings in bed, arguing over which takeout place to choose on Friday nights, and taking turns making coffee in the mornings depending on who woke up first. But if there's one thing I've learned in the past week, it's this. Sometimes the biggest secrets hide in the places you think you know best. It was a Thursday, and I was supposed to be at work. I'd taken the day off because of a mild fever and an even worse headache. Emma had left early that morning, like always, kissing me on the forehead before heading to her office. I'd planned to spend the day on the couch, half watching TV while drifting in and out of sleep. But by late morning, I got restless. The rain was coming down in steady sheets outside, tapping against the window, and the whole apartment felt dim and quiet. I decided to do something useful, tidy up the bedroom. I figured it would be a nice surprise for Emma when she got home. Now, Emma's side of the closet, well, let's just say it's not exactly a shrine to organization. She likes to call it organized chaos. I've always thought it was just chaos. Dresses crammed together so tightly you can barely pull one out, heels mixed in with sneakers, scarves draped over hangers, and a strange assortment of handbags piled on the top shelf like some kind of forgotten treasure hoard. I started with the floor, pushing shoes into pairs and stacking them neatly. Then I moved to the lower shelves, folding sweaters and lining up jeans. Finally, I dragged a chair over to reach the top shelf, where the dust bunnies live. That's when I saw it. A long, white garment bag, the kind you'd see in a bridal boutique. It didn't look old or dusty. It was pristine, new. The zipper was closed halfway, revealing the faint shimmer of ivory fabric inside. My first thought was that it must be a fancy dress for some event I didn't know about. Maybe she'd been invited to a gala or a wedding and hadn't told me yet. But as I reached for it, I felt this strange pull in my chest, like I knew that whatever was inside was going to change something. I unzipped the bag, and there it was, a wedding dress. It wasn't just any wedding dress, it was the kind of dress. The kind that looks like it came straight out of a magazine spread. Delicate lace sleeves, an intricate pattern of beads and embroidery along the bodice. A soft, flowing train that pooled over my hands like liquid silk. And here's the problem. Emma and I weren't engaged. We'd never seriously talked about marriage. Not in a way that involved rings, dates, or guest lists. We joked about it, sure. We'd made the occasional one day maybe comment. But we weren't there yet. First, I tried to laugh it off. Maybe she'd gotten it for a photo shoot. She's a graphic designer, after all. Maybe a friend needed it for some project. Or maybe it was a bargain find she couldn't resist. But the longer I stared at it, the less I believed those explanations. There was no tag, no receipt tucked in the garment bag, no explanation at all. Just this perfect, expensive-looking dress hiding in the shadows of our closet. I touched the fabric again and noticed something strange. One of the sleeves had a faint smudge on it. Makeup, maybe? Foundation. I zipped the bag back up and put it exactly where I'd found it. My hands were sweating. My heart was pounding like I'd just done something wrong. The rest of the day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The dress was like a ghost hovering in my mind, haunting every thought. I imagined Emma walking down an aisle, not towards me, but toward someone else. I imagined her wearing it years ago, at some wedding I didn't know about. When Emma came home that evening, she was her usual self, smiling when she saw me, asking how I was feeling, and kissing me lightly before heading to the bedroom to change. I watched her walk past the closet and wondered if she could sense what I'd done, if she knew I'd seen it. She didn't mention the dress. She didn't act any differently, but I did. That night, lying beside her in bed, I stared at the ceiling and thought about the conversations we'd never had, the questions I'd never asked. And the thing is, I realized I didn't actually know if Emma had ever been married before. I just assumed she hadn't. The thought wouldn't leave me alone. The next day, when she went to work, I opened the garment bag again. This time, I looked closer. Inside one of the hidden interior pockets of the dress, I found something. A folded piece of paper. It was a receipt, not from a store, from a dry cleaner, and the date on it was from 2 weeks ago. Part 2. The dry cleaner's receipt felt heavier than it should have. It was neatly folded, tucked deep inside a hidden pocket sewn into the inner lining of the dress. At first, I thought maybe it had been forgotten there, but the date 2 weeks ago made that theory crumble. This wasn't some relic from years past. This dress had been cleaned recently. The receipt listed the address of the cleaner, along with a customer number instead of a name. That seemed odd. Most receipts I've ever gotten have my name printed on them. But maybe Emma had requested privacy. I stared at it for a long time, my mind spinning through possibilities. Was she planning a surprise for me? Proposal? But why hide it so carefully? And why would she have taken it to the dry cleaner before even wearing it? I tried to shake it off, but it gnawed at me. By the time Emma came home that evening, I decided not to say anything. Yet, I wanted to see if she'd mention it herself. But the conversation never drifted anywhere near wedding dresses or dry cleaners. We had dinner together, watched a few episodes of a show, and went to bed. But I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I heard her phone buzz on the nightstand. She didn't stir. Emma's always been a heavy sleeper. I glanced over, intending to ignore it, but the notification caught my eye. It wasn't a message. It was a calendar reminder. Saturday, 3 p.m. Final fitting. My chest tightened. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't need to. The words burned into my brain, replaying over and over. Final fitting. There was no way that was about anything but the dress. That Friday, I made up an excuse about having to run errands after work and followed Emma when she left the apartment Saturday afternoon. I kept a decent distance, my heart pounding harder with every turn she took. She didn't go to a boutique or a bridal store. She went to the same dry cleaner listed on the receipt. She was inside for maybe 10 minutes before coming out, carrying the garment bag. She didn't see me. Instead of heading straight home, she walked 2 blocks and entered a small cafe I'd never been to. I stood across the street, pretending to check my phone. Through the window, I saw her sit at a table with a man. He was maybe mid-30s, dark hair, wearing a suit that fit him a little too perfectly. He smiled when she arrived, and she smiled back, the kind of smile I thought she reserved for me. They talked for about 20 minutes. No touching, but the conversation seemed intense. At one point, Emma glanced toward the garment bag leaning against her chair, then back to him. When she finally left, I stayed put. I wanted to see if he'd go somewhere that might tell me who he was. but he stayed at the cafe, typing on his phone. I went home before her, acting like I'd been there all along. When Emma returned, the garment bag was nowhere in sight. She claimed she'd been shopping and grabbed coffee with a friend from work. She didn't mention the man. She didn't mention the dress. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to check her side of the closet again. The garment bag was there, but it was different. The zipper was closed all the way, and when I pulled it down, I realized the dress was no longer inside. In its place was something else entirely. A black suit. Men's. Part 3. The black suit hung in the garment bag like a shadow where the wedding dress should have been. I stood there, gripping the hanger, my mind scrambling to make sense of it. The material was fine, sleek, high-quality fabric, clearly tailored. I unzipped the bag all the way and checked the inside pocket of the jacket. No receipt this time, no name tag, but tucked in the inner lining was a small envelope. I didn't open it right away. I just stood there, staring, my pulse hammering in my ears. Finally, I tore the flap open. Inside was a single business card. The card read, Jonathan Pierce, attorney at law. A phone number, an address in a part of the city we never go to. I didn't recognize the name. I shoved the card back into the envelope, zipped up the bag, and returned it exactly where it was. My hands were shaking. Why would Emma hide a wedding dress for weeks, then replace it with a man's suit, complete with an attorney's business card? I didn't sleep much that night. Every creak of the apartment, every shift Emma made beside me in bed, felt amplified. I lay there, listening to her steady breathing, wondering what she was hiding, and who Jonathan Pierce was. The next morning, Emma acted normal. She made coffee, teased me about still being in my pajamas, and headed out to run errands. The second the door closed, I grabbed my jacket and left too. The search begins. I found Jonathan Pierce's office easily. It was in an older brick building downtown, the kind with a narrow elevator and a faded directory in the lobby. His name was listed on the 4th floor. I told myself I wasn't going to do anything reckless. Just see the place, get a feel for what kind of attorney he was. His door was closed when I arrived. The frosted glass read Pierce and Weller, family law. Family law. That could mean divorce, custody battles, or marriage contracts. I didn't knock. I didn't want to risk someone asking who I was. Instead, I waited in the hallway for a few minutes, pretending to scroll my phone. Eventually, the door opened and a man stepped out. He matched the guy from the cafe, dark hair, tailored suit, confident posture. Jonathan Pierce. He didn't notice me as he locked the office behind him and walked toward the elevator. I followed at a safe distance as he exited the building and crossed the street to a small parking lot. He got into a black Mercedes and drove off. I memorized the plate number before heading back inside the office building. If he was a family lawyer and Emma had met him privately, what could that mean? Prenup? Divorce papers? But she wasn't married to me, or at least not as far as I knew. The thought hit me hard. What if she was married to someone else? Unwelcome answers. That night, I decided to push a little. Over dinner, I casually asked, "Hey, do you know anyone named Jonathan Pierce?" Emma froze for a fraction of a second, so brief I might have missed it if I hadn't been watching her closely. "Jonathan Pierce?" she repeated. "No, why?" I just thought the name sounded familiar. Probably nothing. She nodded, smiled, and changed the subject. But the way she gripped her fork just a little too tight told me it wasn't nothing. Later, while she was in the shower, I checked her handbag. I hated myself for it, but I needed to know. In the side pocket, I found another small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. Final arrangements confirmed. Saturday, 4 p.m. Be ready. No signature. No details. Just that. I put it back exactly as I'd found it, heart racing. The tale. Saturday came faster than I wanted. Emma dressed simply. Jeans, a sweater, nothing fancy, and left just after lunch. I waited 10 minutes before following her. She didn't go to the dry cleaner or the cafe this time. She took a bus to a neighborhood I barely recognized. Quiet streets, older houses, a small community center on the corner. She went inside the community center carrying a large tote bag. I slipped in through the side entrance and found a narrow hallway leading to a door marked Private Event. From the crack between the door and the frame, I saw them. Emma stood near a table covered in white linens. Next to her was Jonathan Pierce, speaking in low tones. On the table was the wedding dress out of the bag spread carefully. Beside it, the black suit. And standing a few feet away from them was a man I'd never seen before. Tall, blonde, maybe late 30s. He looked nervous. Jonathan was gesturing between Emma and the man, pointing at the suit and the dress, as if explaining something. I strained to hear, but all I caught was Emma's voice, saying, "We have to make it look convincing." Part 4. I stayed frozen at the crack in the door, my pulse hammering so loud I was sure someone would hear it. Inside, Emma was bent over the table, smoothing the fabric of the wedding dress with a care that looked personal. Not like she was handling a random piece of clothing for a job or a favor. Jonathan Pierce said something to the blonde man, and the guy nodded stiffly. Emma glanced between them, her brow furrowed. I tried to piece together the scene. A family lawyer, my girlfriend, a stranger, a wedding dress, a men's suit, and the words, "We have to make it look convincing." It sounded like a wedding was being staged. But why? And for who? The blonde man looked at Emma with an expression that made my stomach turn. Not romantic, but desperate. The kind of look someone gives when they're about to do something they don't want to do. Jonathan glanced toward the door, and I stepped back fast, pressing myself against the wall. I couldn't risk being caught yet. The first confrontation. I didn't stay to see the rest. I slipped out the side door, walked several blocks before calling a cab, and went straight home. My hands shook the whole ride. When Emma got back that evening, she acted like nothing had happened. She tossed her tote bag on the chair, kicked off her shoes, and asked if I wanted to order Thai food. I couldn't do it. "I followed you today," I blurted out. She froze mid-step. "What?" "I saw you at the community center with Jonathan Pierce and some guy I've never seen before. I saw the dress. I saw the suit." "What the hell is going on, Emma?" Her face went pale, but her voice stayed calm. Too calm. "You were spying on me? Don't turn this around," I snapped. "You've been hiding a wedding dress in our closet, meeting with a lawyer. Now you're in some secret meeting with a stranger. You owe me an explanation." She stared at me for a long time, then sat down at the edge of the couch, her hands clasped. "It's complicated," she said finally, "and I can't tell you everything. Try me." She hesitated, then took a deep breath. It's not my wedding, and it's not about you. Half the truth. According to Emma, the blonde man was someone she'd known years ago. A friend, she called him. He was in some kind of legal trouble, and Jonathan Pierce was helping arrange a ceremonial arrangement to solve it. What the hell is a ceremonial arrangement? I demanded. It's not illegal, she said quickly. It's just unconventional. He needs to present certain evidence to a court, and this wedding is part of that. You expect me to believe you're just helping out of the goodness of your heart? With that dress. Her eyes flashed. It's not what you think. I can't give you details. It's not my place. But no one's getting married for love here. I wanted to believe her, but the memory of the way she smoothed the dress, the way Jonathan had looked between them, it didn't add up. And why keep it a secret from me? I pressed. Because the less you know, the safer you are. The slip. She went to bed early that night, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I couldn't stop replaying her words. Safer. Safer from what? The next day, while she was out, I went back to the closet. The suit and dress were gone. In their place was a plain cardboard box taped shut. Inside, I found a set of printed photographs. The first showed Emma standing next to the blonde man, both dressed formally, the wedding dress and the suit. They were in what looked like a courthouse hallway. The second showed them holding hands. The third was a signed marriage certificate. The date? That morning. The truth breaks through. When Emma came home, I was waiting at the table with the photos spread out in front of me. She stopped cold when she saw them. You went through my things again, she said, her voice low. You got married today. She didn't deny it. She just sat down across from me, her eyes wet. It's not real, she whispered. It's a legal strategy. He's facing deportation because of a technicality in his case. This buys him time. Jonathan arranged it. I'm not in love with him. I don't even... She stopped herself. I stared at her. And you thought you could just hide this from me? Live here like nothing happened. I thought it would be over quickly. I thought you'd never have to know. The last question. I wanted to shout, to demand every detail. But part of me didn't want the answers. Because the more she explained, the more tangled this became. And the more I wondered what else she'd kept from me. I asked her one final question. Is this the first time you've done something like this? She didn't answer right away. And the silence told me more than any words could. That night, Emma slept in the bedroom. I stayed on the couch, staring at the ceiling until dawn. In the morning, her side of the closet was empty. Her clothes, her shoes, the cardboard box, all gone. On the kitchen counter was a single envelope. Inside was a note. I'm sorry. Please don't look for me. It's safer this way. And just like that, she was gone. I still don't know if she married that man just to help him, or if there was more, something deeper, darker, and permanent. But sometimes late at night I'll check the closet, and I swear I can still smell the faint scent of her perfume, mixed with dry-cleaned silk.